All right, welcome everybody to today's Florida PBIS TA Chats. Today's deeper dive module is for teachers. We're going to be looking at student engagement in a virtual environment. My name is Rebecca Webster. I'm going to be your host for today. If you have any questions at any time, you can go ahead and type them in the chat box, and either myself or another one of our team members will get back to you in the chat box, or one of our lovely presenters will just answer your question. Our presenters today are Betsy Lazega, Katrina Emmerich, and Brian Gaunt. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it on over to you guys.
Thanks, Rebecca. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our brief webinar today. We will be focusing on student engagement in a virtual environment. Again, my name is Katrina Emmerich, and I'm happy you're here with us. And we will soon be joined by Betsy Lazega and Brian Gaunt. We'll be sharing strategies and resources aligned with PBIS to enhance your virtual learning environment. This webinar is part of a series of brief webinars that we've been doing, and this is aimed at providing teachers and parents with PBIS essentials that are adapted to the virtual environment. It's not just that we are learning in a virtual environment, but we are also learning how to adapt to this new way of living and coping with many new stressors. So today we will be focusing on using PBIS strategies to enhance student engagement for our teachers. So here we see the primary topics that we will be covering today. The first one, we're going to look at what is engagement. Here we will define and provide examples related to child engagement. Then we're going to explore some strategies that will maintain student engagement in an online learning environment. And then finally, we're going to look at the last part of today's webinar, which will provide us with resources that can be immediately implemented into your virtual learning environment. This will help aid in the support of student engagement. So some might ask, what is active child engagement? So looking here, you'll notice that child engagement involves anything that is active. So this could include dancing or painting or any other type of kinesthetic learning that gets a child physically engaged in the work. It also includes providing them with leadership opportunities and connecting with their personal interest. So for example, allowing a child to lead the class in a virtual activity, or providing choice boards so that they can select things that interest them. This can help to increase student interest and motivation to continue with participation. Here is how student engagement is defined. Telling us that engagement can be measured by student response, assignment completion, and participation in lessons. So all of these things actually suggest that the student has the motivation to learn and make progress. Now I'd like to welcome Betsy as we continue.
Thank you, Katrina. What I am showing you guys right now is a diagram, and this diagram displays factors that contribute to student engagement in a virtual environment. The circle that you see kind of towards the left represents class interactivity, and that's comprised of student, course, and instructor factors. All three of those are going to play a role in creating an environment that's engaging for learners. So this graphic illustrates a traditional virtual learning environment, but we know that it's important right now to think about some other factors that are kind of variables for students and teachers. So when you look at this original diagram, it's kind of similar to a recipe for a cake. And this would make a great cake mixed all together, would come out great. But we also need to consider that the temperature of the oven might not be what it once was. We have some new factors that have been added to the mix, and these things include anxiety and fear of the unknown, stressors that may be coming up because of, economic situations or new kind of family situations created. So basically, we have things that we know work in virtual engagement environments, but we also have a brand new sort of virtual engagement situation going on. So it's important for us to think about, in these kind of uncertain times, starting with ensuring that all of our students and families have access to the tools that they need, and that the information that we're providing is done in a way that's meaningful. So sometimes that's going to mean offering non-tech options to students. So we're going to show you some really cool technology components that you can integrate, but also it's important to keep in mind that we want to have some tasks in there that are not necessarily virtually involved. So they're, you know, those traditional kind of tasks. And it's also important that we, whenever we can, provide instruction and communication in families' native languages. And I think this is important too, thinking about extending those deadlines to adjust for variations that people have to access and technology and support. And sometimes I think people just need a little bit more time right now to get things done. I want to show you guys this very short video that I think provides some great strategies to enhance student engagement in a virtual setting. And this is from Edutopia.
It can feel like a big change, but online teaching is still teaching. Your virtual classroom will need to be managed, and you will still need to teach responsibly and differentiate your instruction. Yes, there will be some adaptations, but setting, cultivating belonging, and making your curriculum compelling, those are still at the core. Here are 6 tips from seasoned veterans for keeping students engaged in a virtual environment. Try making your own digital content, like videos or slide decks, but stay laser focused on keeping instruction clear and simple. The research says that being your natural, authentic self is another key here. Don't be afraid to make mistakes, and let your personality shine through. Navigating virtual spaces can be confusing, and you don't want students missing critical info. Be sure to have one central hub where all the latest updates go. You can create other spaces like chat rooms or lounges for group discussions or side conversations. Virtual learning doesn't need to be chaotic. Share clear expectations for participation, respectful interactions, and dress code. Ask students to design agreements together to ensure every voice is heard. It will help them stay focused, empathetic, and kind. You may not all be in the same room, but students should feel a sense of community. So make time for small group work and relationship building activities. That keeps the humans behind the texts or video screens connected. Giving your students some space to learn independently builds critical skills, but they'll need support too. Set online office hours so your students know when they can reach you. You should also participate in discussion threads and offer guidance and encouragement regularly. Research shows students retain more knowledge when they've actively engaged with materials. Keep learners from becoming passive observers by finding ways to build in polls, break for brainstorms, or drop guided questions into the instruction.
Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed that really short video. I thought it provided some really good, easy bits of information that were really helpful in thinking about student engagement. So some of the strategies that were highlighted and that we're going to build off of a little bit more, we're building an online community, so a classroom community, a school community, keeping the environment student-centered. And what does that mean? Establish and teach expectations, clearly specify objectives, use interesting and engaging online tools, promote the exchange of ideas and information, provide timely, relevant, and actionable feedback, and establish and maintain ongoing collaboration with parents. So the 2 that are in green, we already have some chats that have already gone out that talk pretty in depth about those 2 pieces. So we will refer you back at the end to where you can find the recordings of those chats. And the other ones we're going to dive a little bit deeper into today. So here are some examples of building an online school or classroom community. One is a second grade teacher, and during the first week in the virtual environment, he showed himself on a roller coaster, and he gave a little update for his class about this new situation. It was really cute, really engaging. The next one is a teacher who had a virtual classroom pet. So one of the activities that she had was for them to send suggestions for a name and to vote on the name of their classroom panda. This one was a school-wide, sorry, my daughter's about to walk into the room. This one is a school-wide incentive program where they were giving virtual house points, and that was carried over from their traditional building, and they found a way to integrate it into the virtual environment. So they still had this school-wide sense of community. The last one here is an example from Miami-Dade, and it was a guidance counselor who was sending personal connective notes to individual students and just saying, you know, hi, I miss you, I miss seeing your face. And then the student writing back and telling her how much she loved her letter. So these are just examples from a big scale to a classroom scale to just a one-on-one making some contact with student scale. And in terms of creating a student-centered environment, there are definitely a couple of things that we would want to keep in mind. I like this illustration with the daily quarantine questions because this is way beyond what we need to teach in our traditional curriculum, but just checking in and connecting and making sure that students feel okay in their environments, that they're moving their body every day, that they're finding, you know, joy and beauty and things around them, just staying well. And that's the central focus, is that well-being of our students. Being flexible about learning requirements. Kids probably aren't going to be able to meet the same deadlines as they traditionally did. Some will, some are all about this kind of learning environment, but others are going to take longer to adjust. So we want to be flexible about those learning requirements. We want to be giving kids specific feedback on what they did well and offer suggestions for how they can improve. Making sure that kids have an understanding each week of what's due, what is going to be assigned, trying to find a specific day of the week to put those announcements out so that there's some structure to those reminders. Having the due dates around the same time so that there's some structure to when things will be turned in. That will make it a lot easier for them to know what's expected. And then of course, find ways to provide them with additional resources if they need assistance with their work. I know a lot of the districts do have some kind of online tutoring programs or numbers that the students can call, or there may just be resources that you know of online that you can provide for students, just making sure that they have that extra support if they need it and they know where to find it. One other thing is maybe if you find that you're getting the same questions over and over from students, think about having a document that has like frequently asked questions that you can post in your virtual classroom that they can refer to so that you don't have to keep answering the same questions. So some other things in creating a student-centered environment. One is, and this is true for a regular classroom too, but definitely still true here in this environment, is giving choices. So, you know, finding out formally or informally what kinds of activities students prefer, and then also offering some selections of choice in how they can demonstrate their learning. So the picture on the left is a little bit blurry, but we do have a link to this where you can actually create little menus in different ways that students can demonstrate, you know, their learning. And so this one actually looks like a menu with little food objects and stuff. And so when you click on the PDF of this presentation that is in our links, you should be able to link to these documents if you're interested in making one for some of your assignments. And then the other one is a more traditional choice board for reading, where they're just picking 3 different activities from the list to demonstrate learning. And here are some other tools And I think Brian is going to walk us through these. So I'm going to hand it over to Brian.
Great. Thank you so much, Betsy. As teachers, your school districts may already provide you a number of different resources available to help you with finding online resources to share with students as part of your instructional design and lesson plans. But knowing these tools obviously can really be important for you to be proficient at. We're just going to share a couple of them here in case you're not familiar with them. With all the online tools, obviously, that you have at your disposal for engaging students, the one on the left, Neo K-12, it's a really neat one. It offers free resources for just about every subject area K through 12 and includes interactive diagrams and games and quizzes and just different tools to create presentations and activities for students to participate in online. And then on the right, there's an area of work called TED Ed. For many of you, you might be familiar with the idea of TED Talks. And so they have this online resource that's available. It's similar to the Neo K-12 in that it provides, a variety of different video-based lessons and such. But this particular website, TED Ed, can really be appealing for students at the middle and high school level. So certainly check out those types of resources, but consider the ones that you have as well through your school district. And don't feel like you have to use them all, but certainly pick 2 or 3, become really proficient at them, and teach your students how to access and use that technology fluently as well. So moving on then, Flocabulary, I have to practice saying that so I don't mess that up, offers rhythmic and rap videos and games and quizzes and a variety of different academic subject areas. Kahoot on the right, for those of you who aren't already familiar with it, is a game-based learning platform that allows students to not only engage in the instructional content you've planned for them and the activities that come with it, but actually to practice some skills and vocabulary, but it makes it a game time competitive, if you will, event that engages students and kind of motivates them to want to participate well at it. Moving on, when we think about promoting the exchange of ideas and information in the online classroom, here's a few tools to promote the exchange of information. So these links can be accessed in the handouts corresponding to this presentation that we've provided you in the chat box. The flip grid on the left is basically just provides short little videos for students with grids. And those grids serve as kind of like meeting places that allow for icebreakers or weekly reflections or mini presentations. So this could be a great remote learning resource for building community or a sense of community in your online experience with students. And Padlet is another resource on the right. We've actually used Padlet in the past, and I know many other discretionary projects that we support districts with have done this. But this allows the creation of boards and documents and web pages where you can invite students to post other interactive content. And so you could, for example, grade and star and upvote posts with reactions fostering community. More school-centric features also may require a subscription. So certainly we're not trying to advocate resources that you must pay for, but those features are certainly available if you should choose to do that. But Poll Everywhere then could be used to gather information about student preferences and obtain other pertinent feedback that you'd like to get from your students about their online experience. And then finally, moving on to the next slide, when we think about establishing and maintaining an ongoing collaboration with parents, again, this is really important. Partnerships with parents is really critical. Not only are you in a different role, and not only do you have limitations with what you have control over in this new virtual world, but parents now obviously are in a different role, and they're having to juggle not only the monitoring and the supports for their students' online learning, but then also their own jobs if they have them at home to work on. And so we want to make sure that that collaboration stays positive and frequent enough that both of you and that is the teacher and the parent are supporting the student together. But this is a way of communicating with parents and enabling them to better understand the needs of the students and how to engage them. It's helpful to establish a routine for sending out information to parents. So you might even consider using some of those online resources I just shared to send out announcements to parents and asking them for their ideal format for receiving information. Some parents are more comfortable with texts, others with emails, and perhaps even others might be more open to other options that you have available through your online platforms. But having a routine to follow allows you and the parents to know that there's a a schedule with which we should be able to contact with each other. Perhaps that's once a week, perhaps it's every other week. And then of course, making sure that for students that need some critical supports or otherwise additional focus and support, is to work with those parents individually to find a communication plan that works best for them and their child. So communication preferences may vary. So think about the different ways that your parents would like to learn best and how they would like to collaborate and communicate with you. And then moving on, these are just some additional resources here that we do not have time in this presentation to really go into, but you can find all sorts of different tools and strategies to also further help engage students. Some of these at the top are from our partner discretionary project called the PSRTI project. And so they've got a department of folks there that specifically deal with online learning and the use of technology in the classroom. So you might want to check out their tools for sure. And then finally, going on to the next slide, just want to share with you some additional handouts as well that you can find on that link there. You see at the bottom, the bit.ly short link. Again, we've also provided this in the chat box, but this could be a way for you to also find additional tools and resources that maybe you're needing to find something specific for your population of students or for the content that you're teaching. So if you have any questions about any or all of these resources that we're sharing with you, don't hesitate to contact our project. So go to the next slide. Feel free to contact us at our project email, or you can also check out our links to our website, which is the flpbis.org website. And if you haven't already started following us on either Facebook or Twitter, you might want to consider following us and then accessing daily updates as far as new resources and when those are coming out and how to access them. And we also have a YouTube channel that we encourage you to check out, where you can find a lot of different video presentations around how to support students behaviorally, not only during this time of online learning, but also conventionally in the standard classroom buildings. So thank you all so much for your time and your attention today. I'm going to hand it back over to Rebecca to close out our session.